We're back to Neil Haley show, and I'm excited to welcome to the program Danielle Moné Truitt of Law and Order Organized Crime on NBC and Peacock, streaming on Peacock. How are you, Danielle? And thanks for stopping
I'm
by.
great. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
All right, for people, because again, I know when I put this on my YouTube channel, how Law and Order is such a huge brand and put it out different places. People that are fans know this answer. But for other people who have not tuned in, tell us the premise of Law and Order Organized Crime.
So Law and Order Organized Crime is about the Organized Crime Control Bureau. We go after organized crime organizations, people who are doing uh, selling drugs, sex trafficking, all hacking, all kinds of, you wouldn't believe how many different kinds of organized crime there is in this world. It definitely was a bigger thing, back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s. But now it's definitely still something that happens. It's just a little bit more under the radar. So we're a specialized task force that goes after those organizations and tries to bring justice. And so far, we've been doing a pretty good job.
So the history of the NYC, this is the question I want to ask because, Sopranos fan, Gotti fan, are they still around? Is that the type of organized crime that's still around, or is it other groups of organizations now kind of developing
I
that?
think I think it's a little bit of both. I think the types of organized crime, like you said, I think those kind are a little bit more underground now. I don't think I think in this day and age, they don't have as big of a hold on certain communities and stuff like that. I think a lot of stuff is kind of turning more into tech, and hacking and all this kind of gun making and stuff like that. So I think it's shifted a little bit, but it's definitely still a thing.
Still a thing. So there are still families and organized crime, because that's the part of the show that people have to understand is this is real world happenings, just
Yeah.
in a different way. And that's why it's such a popular show, right? Because this is the type of crime that's happening today that we don't really,
Yeah.
sometimes we see in the news, but not always. And it blows you away, right? I'm sure when you got part of this brand, you're like, holy cow, especially this show, and said, I really didn't
Oh
think
yeah,
about these
there's
things
so
before.
much
Mhm.
you don't. And I'm from California, so I definitely don't really think about it. I think a lot of the majority of the organized crime families and stuff are like they're in New York, Dominican, like they're in these other countries. California is not a place where it's like a lot of that going on. So you don't really realize, how much it is. But because a lot of organized crime, it really is a family institution and people are kind of born into it. It's not really something that I feel is ever going to completely go away. And then in what's happening, the epidemic that's happening with this fentanyl and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
like there are people behind that, um, in government as well. So I love the fact that our show, gets to touch on all of those things.
Exactly. And in a way, it has hurt people, but not as bad as some of the other Law and Orders. So I'm sure you're happy about that, because those are really heartbreaking in so many ways. But this is
Oh
like
my
cool.
God, yes.
This is, I guess,
Ours
if we
ours
would,
gets to
yeah,
be a little less, it's a little less close to home, because a lot of people don't necessarily experience the organized crime, the effect of organized crime on a daily basis. But like with SVU and stuff like that, you know, yeah, that it hits close to home
yeah.
for many of
And
us. Yeah.
how those people were able to go back to work every day. As I have a client I work with who's a former firefighter, and he talks these stories all the time about PTSD and stuff. Even anyone that serves us, boy, they go through a lot. And I'm sure
Yeah.
preparing for this character, how did you prepare for this character?
You know, if I'm completely honest, I got this role out of the blue. I was
Okay.
at home in California with my two sons doing distance learning during the pandemic. I had no idea that I didn't even audition for this part. Like I got this part based on some previous work that I had done on some other TV shows. and they brought me on to this show. So I had very little time to prepare for this character. I kind of had to use season one as a way to figure out who she is. They of course they gave me the script and stuff like that, but a lot of times with these TV shows and movies and things like things happen so fast. They go so fast. It's different from doing a play where you get time to sit with a character for 4 to 6 weeks and develop who they are, and then you put it on stage for an audience. TV is very fast. You don't have a lot of time to completely develop your character. You're kind of doing it with the showrunner, with the writers. You guys are figuring out, who is this woman? And she's brand new. Chris, he actually, he lucked out. He was already Stabler for for so many years.
Yeah.
He had all that time to develop who Stabler is. So he came in, completely knowing who his character was. But I had to figure out who she was, how she navigates this industry that she's in, and what her thoughts are about Stabler, and it's been a fun ride. It's been a fun ride developing her. I'm happy that, in the fourth season, I feel very grounded in who she is, and I'm, excited to see this season through as well.
No, I think that's awesome. Let's talk about your character really quickly and what you expect from your character this season compared to other seasons. Go ahead.
Well, this season, I think my character is really she's really grappling with the fact that she keeps losing people from her team. People keep dying. And I think at a certain point, it takes a toll on a person's psyche. And as the leader of the task force, you have to look at yourself and say, is there something I'm doing wrong? Am I not leading effectively? How can I stop this cycle of people coming to this task force and then losing their life at some point, and so I think this season, they're all grieving the death of Detective Whalen. I think Bell's way of coping is, bringing in this new AI expert to give them a new
Oh
way of
boy.
policing that can maybe be a little bit more foolproof. I think she's looking for solutions. She's a very solution-oriented woman, which I really love about her. I'm a little different. I'm a more emotional woman. So Belle is trying the logic route, to get a handle on things. And I think she's going to be dealing with a lot of bureaucracy within the department. She's going to be dealing with, different personalities within the task force, dealing with Stabler, dealing with Jet and Reyes. They have a whole messy thing going on with this affair. And she's going to have to, deal with it all. So
I'm
it's
trying to
going to be
ignore
a
this because I want to
pretty,
watch the show from beginning to end. Is it all available on Peacock?
yes,
Can you catch up with all the
it
seasons on
is.
Peacock?
You
Awesome.
can. Yes, you
See, this is
can.
the thing this is why people need to get Peacock today. Look at me promoting this, is because Netflix and all these other platforms, guess what? They're got old content. You can catch up on the new seasons of stuff that's coming out right now on NBC, on Peacock,
Yes.
catch up on old seasons and just stay on Peacock. It's probably the best bang for your buck for a streaming platform, in my opinion. Totally. Yeah,
I
I'm because
agree. I agree.
yeah, I know you definitely agree. Best place people can go is to watch the show is Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern. Law and Order, Organized Crime, and we can follow you. What's best place social media wise we can follow you? Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram, Danielle Moné Truitt, and I'm also on Twitter, same name, Danielle Moné Truitt, and Facebook, Danielle Moné Truitt.
Hey, I love the conversation. I could talk organized crime with you all day long because it intrigues me. And the AI and cybersecurity, that's one thing that definitely people are going to see in these episodes is cybersecurity is probably one of the biggest organized crime and the highest, and it keeps going. I have a client, Greg Hanna, and he talks about this all the time. Toss C3, and it's crazy. But I appreciate it, Danielle. Thanks for stopping by. All right.
Thank you. Thanks
All
for
right. You're
having me.
listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.